1. The show wasn't immediately popular. Despite its critical acclaim today, The Wire struggled with viewership during its original run. At the time, shows like The Sopranos and Sex and the City dominated HBO's marketing, overshadowing The Wire. Critics initially gave it mixed reviews, finding the layered storytelling and slow pacing challenging. Its complex structure with interwoven narratives and a lack of traditional resolution deterred casual viewers. Paradoxically, this very complexity is what made it a timeless masterpiece for binge watchers in later years. 2. Most actors were not from Baltimore or even actors. Many of the series' most compelling performances came from non-professional actors and real-life Baltimoreans. Felicia Pearson, Snoop, was recruited for her role after being spotted by Michael K. Williams in a Baltimore nightclub. She had been a convicted felon and brought raw authenticity to her performance. Likewise, Jay Landsman, who plays Lieutenant Mello, was a real Baltimore police officer, and many of the minor characters were based on actual people from the city. This casting choice added to the show's realism, though it diverged from traditional Hollywood practices. 3. The writers didn't prioritize entertainment. The series wasn't designed for escapism. It was more like a visual novel with socio-political critique at its core. Co-creator David Simon, a former journalist, sought to explore systemic issues like poverty, institutional dysfunction, and the drug trade. The absence of clear heroes or villains made the show difficult for some audiences to digest. Unlike most TV dramas, the writers refused to dumb down the script, expecting viewers to pay close attention to the dense dialogue and subtext. 4. Critics initially overlooked its brilliance. While often hailed as one of the greatest TV series ever, The Wire received no Emmy Awards and only a few nominations. This lack of recognition stems partly from its deliberate rejection of flashy dramatics in favor of subtle storytelling. Its commentary on race, class, and systemic corruption may have been too challenging for mainstream awards bodies. Over time, however, critics have revisited their initial assessments, retroactively labeling it a masterpiece. 5. The show predicted many real-world events. The Wire eerily foreshadowed real-life developments in policing, education, and media. The portrayal of juking the stats in law enforcement mirrored real controversies where police departments manipulated crime statistics. The focus on failing urban schools in Season 4 anticipated national conversations about educational inequity. Even the decline of traditional journalism in Season 5 reflected trends that worsened after the series ended, making the show seem prophetic. 6. Idris Elba almost didn't get the role of Stringer Bell. Elba's British accent nearly cost him the role. The casting directors were initially hesitant because they preferred authentic Baltimore voices. Elba had to hide his British origins during his audition. Ironically, his portrayal of Stringer Bell, a shrewd, business-minded drug kingpin, became one of the show's standout performances, with critics praising the character's depth and Elba's nuanced acting. 7. The writers killed off popular characters without hesitation. Beloved characters like Wallace Omar and Stringer Bell were not spared. The show's commitment to realism meant no one was safe, mirroring the unpredictability of life in the drug trade. This choice shocked viewers accustomed to traditional narratives where main characters often survive. David Simon and his team believed these deaths were necessary to convey the harsh realities of the systems they depicted. 8. The show was a love letter to Baltimore and a critique. David Simon often described The Wire as a love letter to Baltimore, even though it harshly critiqued the city's institutions. Simon's dual role as admirer and critic is rooted in his time as a journalist for the Baltimore Sun. While the show highlights the resilience of Baltimore's people, It doesn't shy away from depicting systemic failures in policing, education, and politics. This paradox, loving a city while exposing its flaws, is a recurring theme that resonates with viewers. 9. The Corner Boys often had the deepest philosophical insights. Despite their involvement in crime, characters like Bodie and D'Angelo expressed profound thoughts about life and morality. The chess analogy used by D'Angelo in Season 1 is one of the most iconic scenes. It illustrates how the drug trade mirrors systemic inequalities, where pawns are disposable and only a few ever make it to the other side. These moments of insight from characters typically dismissed by society underline the show's nuanced storytelling. For instance, John Wayne and Monica are talking about 10. The series didn't have a main character. Unlike traditional TV dramas, The Wire lacks a central protagonist. Each season shifts its focus. Police, drug dealers, dock workers, politicians, school children, and journalists, highlighting that the real main character is the city of Baltimore and its systems. This narrative approach challenges viewers' expectations and underscores the interconnectedness of society issues. 11. The show's real villain wasn't the drug trade. The drug trade is central to the show, yet it's not portrayed as the ultimate antagonist. The Wire positions institutions like the police force, education system, and political bureaucracy as the true villains. These systems perpetuate cycles of poverty, crime, and corruption. For example, McNulty's rebellion against police bureaucracy demonstrates how these systems hinder meaningful reform more than any single bad guy. 12. The focus on the docks in Season 2 was initially unpopular. Season 2 shifted focus to the working-class struggles of the dock workers, leaving some fans confused. This season was a deliberate attempt to show the interconnectedness of Baltimore's systems. By spotlighting the struggles of blue-collar workers and their involvement in smuggling, the show expanded its scope beyond the drug trade. Like an advertisement for the #1 Anthony Hopkins films, Season 1 of The American Pike, with a beautifully written and directed screenplay, and out of nowhere, the script called decisive clarity, balanced writing, and antithesis of smart. 13. Many actors played against type. Several cast members were chosen specifically to challenge stereotypes. Michael K. Williams's portrayal of Omar, a gay stick-up man feared in the streets, subverted traditional depictions of masculinity in crime dramas. Similarly, Wendell Pierce, Bunk Moreland, and Sonia Sohn, Kima Greggs, brought unexpected depth and complexity to their roles as detectives, avoiding the cliché tough cop archetype. 14. The show was criticized for being too realistic. Some critics found The Wire too gritty and unflinching in its portrayal of urban life. Unlike other crime dramas, The Wire didn't rely on stylized violence or glamorous depictions of crime. Its unvarnished realism, grandly focused on escapism, alienated viewers seeking escapism. Ironically, this uncompromising realism is what earned it later acclaim. 15. The dialogue was deliberately dense. The show's use of authentic street slang and police jargon made it hard to follow for many viewers. Simon and his team avoided translating or simplifying the dialogue, trusting viewers to pick up on the context over time. This choice was risky, but ultimately paid off, as it added to the show's immersive quality. For example, terms like re-up or restocking drug data became part of viewers' vocabulary. 16. Each season had a unique theme. While all seasons connect, each one focuses on a distinct aspect of systemic dysfunction. Season 1, the drug trade. Season 2, the decline of American labor. Season 3, political corruption and reform. Season 4, education and youth. Season 5, media and storytelling. This thematic diversity was unconventional for a TV series and made The Wire feel more like a sociological study than traditional entertainment. 17. Omar's code of honor was inspired by real people. Omar's moral code, he only robs drug dealers and avoids harming civilians, was based on real Baltimore figures. David Simon and Ed Burns drew inspiration from local stick-up men they had encountered during their respective careers in journalism and law enforcement. Omar's character challenges viewers to reconsider traditional notions of morality, as his actions blur the line between criminal and hero. 18. McNulty was originally supposed to die. Jimmy McNulty, the flawed yet central detective, was initially intended to die in Season 1. The plan to kill McNulty was scrapped after Dominic West's portrayal of the character garnered acclaim. This decision allowed the writers to delve deeper into McNulty's self-destructive tendencies and his complex relationship with systemic corruption. 19. The Wire was a collaborative effort. While David Simon is often credited as the mastermind, the series was shaped by diverse voices. Co-creator Ed Burns, a former homicide detective and school teacher, provided first-hand insights into the police and education systems. Writers like Richard Price and George Pelecanos brought their own expertise in crime writing. This collaborative approach ensured that the series' portrayal of various institutions was multifaceted and deeply informed. 20. The show avoided using a musical score. The Wire relied almost entirely on diegetic sound, music that exists within the world of the show. By avoiding a traditional score, the show heightened its sense of realism. Music only appeared when characters were listening to it, such as on a car radio or at a party. This choice reinforced the grounded documentary-style tone. 21. The final scene wasn't about closure. The ending of The Wire deliberately avoided tying up loose ends. In the final episode, cycles of corruption and crime continue, with new players replacing old ones. This lack of closure reflects the show's central thesis. Systemic problems persist, regardless of individual actions. While unsatisfying for some viewers, this choice emphasized the futility of seeking easy solutions to complex issues. 22. The Wire inspired real-world policy changes. Despite being fiction, the show influenced discussions about urban policy and reform. Many policymakers and educators cited The Wire as a catalyst for addressing issues like educational inequality and criminal justice reform. It is even used in college curricula worldwide to teach sociology, criminology, and political science. The show wasn't meant to be hopeful. Unlike most dramas, The Wire didn't offer a hopeful message. The series depicts how even well-intentioned individuals, like Bunny Colvin or Stringer Bell, are crushed by larger systems. However, the glimmers of humanity and resilience in characters like Bubbles and Dookie offer a nuanced take on hope within systemic oppression. 24. It was originally conceived as a police procedural like NYPD Blue. David Simon pitched The Wire as a straightforward police procedural before expanding its scope. HBO was initially reluctant to greenlight such an ambitious project. Simon used the police procedural framework as a Trojan horse to explore broader societal issues, gradually expanding the narrative far beyond the initial concept.